I started following a few podcasters, a few veteran podcasters. I would listen to their shows and read what they wrote. And I decided to pick one or two and prioritize what I heard from them. And one of those was Daniel J. Lewis, who is a veteran podcaster. His show, The Audacity to Podcast, is on hiatus right now, but it was a great show. And I started listening to him and to some other people. But even when I did that and when I started prioritizing their feedback, one of the challenges I didn't have that I couldn't address was I didn't have a good way to get direct feedback about my show. I didn't have a good way to get that feedback from somebody who knew podcasting. I could sometimes get a little bit of feedback from my listeners, but usually it was things like, I really love the show, or occasionally I would get something like, hey, it's hard to listen sometimes because some of your guests say a lot. So I would take that piece of feedback and I'd go, okay, I need to find a way to edit a little bit better. And so I took that, but I didn't have a good way to get a lot of feedback at one time from a single person who knew the business, so to speak. And frankly, I couldn't afford a consultant. I couldn't afford $1,000 or $2,000 to have somebody sit down and listen to my show and give me feedback over a period of time. And so what I did, this was something that Daniel J. Lewis offered. I joined an online podcasters group called Podcaster Society. In fact, that group is still in existence. And it cost me money every month. I started investing money in order to do this. But what it got me was not only access to other podcasters who had shows and who had experience and who had perspective, it also got me access to an expert in Daniel. And it gave me also the opportunity to have an episode of my show reviewed by him. So he went through, I think he's got 150 different points or something like that, where he goes through everything from your RSS feed to your artwork to your website to the quality of the audio, the editing, if it's an interview, the quality of the questions, went through a lot of that stuff. And when I sat down to have that reviewed, it was a live video review for me and for everybody else who was part of it, so we could all learn together, which was great, but also a little bit embarrassing because not all the feedback that he had was positive. Now, he was great in how he delivered the feedback. It felt positive even if it wasn't, but not all of it was positive feedback, and there were some things that needed to change. And in particular, part of what happens is you get a lot of stuff and you have to go, okay, this is all the feedback that I've gotten. Now I need to, one, decide what of this that I want to do, because maybe not everything about my show lines up with what he suggested. Maybe it's something that I need to fix and I just don't understand it. There's a lot of different reasons where on individual things, maybe I decide not to do something or I decide to do that later. And part of it is also prioritization. You had to decide what I was going to change and when. But then I also had to do the reps or do the work. I had to have some hard conversations with people that were involved with the show with me. But it was worth it because of that, I was able to keep going. I'm past 5 years now, and my show has improved. And some of that's because of these relationships that I made 3 or 4 years ago, many of which are still in place. I'm still part of that group. I'm still part of Podcaster Society, and I still pay every day because it allows me to learn from others and to share what I've learned with others. And that, of course, is not the only thing I've invested in. I've invested in other courses as well. But these kinds of things have made a huge difference in my podcasting journey. And it's because of that I'm now able to be asked to share what I know with other podcasters in Facebook groups, as well as occasionally online. I'll have somebody that hires me for consulting. Because I took that feedback and because I did the work and I learned and improved, I also have the ability and the opportunity to speak to other people like this. For example, I'll be speaking at the Christian Podcasters Summit in June of 2019, and I tie at least a portion of that, maybe a big portion of that, to doing the work and building relationships, being willing to seek out and receive feedback, and then just being willing to keep going.